Hey guys, today I'm painting a very beautiful, simple, and loose watercolor painting. So for my supplies, I've got my wash water, my rinse water, my watercolor palette, my round brush with the pointed tip, and of course my outline is drawn onto my watercolor paper. And if you want the outline, I know you can't see it well on the monitor, but it's there. And if you want that outline, just look in the description. So I'm just going to very loosely paint this in, and I'm not trying to fill in, like stay in the lines and all that, and I'm leaving some white specks here and there. But this is just very watered down, kind of a soupy consistency. I'm just using the tip of my brush to scumble into my outline. And if you don't have watercolor paper, you could use watercolor. If you don't have watercolor paint, you could use acrylic paint for this. And in fact, a lot of people prefer that. This is actually watercolor, but it's the same concept. You just really water it down, and it behaves a little bit differently, but not enough to really matter. So if that's all you have, then go ahead and try that. So now I've gone with a darker shade and just kind of dabbed that into the center edge of the petals, and it kind of bleeds out into the rest because it's all wet. So now I'm mixing up a green shade, and like I said, I know you can't see the outline very well, but it's there. So I'm painting in those leaves. And again, I don't want to leave some white specks showing, because this is your only chance to have white. You can come back with like acrylic paint and paint in some white, but it's much easier to just leave the space. But if you accidentally cover up something that you want to be white, then just know that you can come back with gouache or acrylic paint and put the white back in. So now with the tip of my brush, I'm barely touching the paper and putting in my stem. Okay, so right there it bled, and I'll show you how to kind of fix that after a while. And you may like it to bleed like that, so you might want to leave it, but sometimes it's just kind of a nice little accident. But I dried my brush, cleaned it and dried it, and I'm kind of sopping up some of that water, and which takes off some of the paint. It still leaves it kind of fuzzy, but I decided I like that, so I'm trying to do that to parts of the other stem, or other parts of the stem. All right, so mixing up a darker shade of green, just so that all my greenery is not the same shade, and painted in those leaves right there. So now I'm going to start on the pot. So I've mixed up a shade of blue, again soupy, just watered down soupy. And again, I want to leave some white showing in this, so I'm very alert and aware of what I'm doing when I'm painting this, so that I don't fill it all in, because that white in there is going to look like light shining on it. So now with a darker shade, while that's still wet, I'll come in with this dark shade down here and then bring in some water, and this paint is going to follow your water. So wherever your paper is wet, if it touches that paint, it's going to bleed into it. that's a good thing and a bad thing. So you gotta be aware of that. But it's beautiful when it happens. But sometimes it happens when you don't necessarily want it to. So you just gotta be careful where your water is and where your wet paint is. So there's my shadow. And I'm just tapping in a center. I just want to keep all of this really, really loose. I've got my little stem right there. Now with that dry, I can come back and kind of define those a little better. All right, now I'm just adding a little different shade to the leaves. Sometimes it's just nice to have different shades going on. All right, now there's some little twigs, and maybe some of them are leaves, just kind of some sprigs coming out of the pot. Right now you can see that's still very wet, so I want to dry that before I move on. So that's not completely dry, and I should have dried it all the way, but I just had to be careful with this. But what I'm doing now is I could leave the edges the way they are, just that raw edge, but I decided to put some ink on it. So this is just distress ink, and just kind of adds a little border to it. So that's kind of nice, kind of ages it. Okay, so now I want to frame it, and I've got some scrapbook paper here, just different colors of 8x10 scrapbook paper, and I'm trying to decide which I want to use for my mat, and I think I've decided on the pink. Okay, so I've matted it into an 8x10 frame, and these are really nice gifts or art to use in your home, or if you're interested in selling your art, this is a great way to do it. So thank you guys for watching. Have a great day, and God bless you.